Hey everyone, it's Dr. Nastel. Thanks for your patience last week. We had a lot of stuff going on in my family, just as you are having in yours, and I'm happy to be able to give you a break for a week and also to be back. So, I want to talk with you about the research project. You'll see that I revised the schedule for our class again. Basically, the project is the only assignment left. Each week, I will post discussion boards and kind of suggestions for ways you can update me on your progress. Doing all of that stuff will be really helpful. It will make your research project much easier to complete. So it will be due on the last day of our class, Thursday, December 10th by 11:59 p.m. on D2L. That is when our class ends on D2L, so I recommend you submit it before then. There are two components to the project. The first is an author's letter where you describe what your purpose was, what you learned, what you will continue to do as a result of this class. And the second is the research analysis essay, which all of our work so far has been preparing you to do. So this is a 6-page PDF. It has a ton of information. I'm going to do a quick overview and then I can dive into some of the details in another video. So we have the requirements for the author's letter. That should be, it's often the last thing that you'll complete. Some students like to write that after they've already started a draft, but it's informal. You're writing to me, to Bill, and our colleagues in the class. For the essay, we're going to write something that we want to learn more about in the field of rhetoric and composition / writing studies. So rhetoric and composition or writing studies is the study of how we use language through written communication. So it's basically everything we've been doing in this class. It's what this class is all about. You can see that the guidelines from Queen City Writers, which is an undergraduate research journal, gives you a little bit more detail. So we have writing, rhetoric, reading, pedagogy, and teacher training. Pedagogy is the art of teaching. Literacy, popular culture and media, community discourses, and multimodal and digital composing. So any of the articles, chapters, podcast episodes we've read and listened to so far, all of those ideas and scholars fall within this broad category of writing studies. The requirements for Queen City Writers continues. Student work that takes risks, exhibits innovative thinking, and demonstrates the robust potential of composition, the art of making things. What this means is that you can certainly follow traditional essay writing guidelines, but just like in all of the pieces we've been reading and in all of our assignments so far, you can find ways to be creative. So many of you have been talking about how important it has been this semester or in our shortened term to do writing that sounds like you, that feels like you, that celebrates your voice. I hope that you'll continue to do those things in this project. It needs to be 1750 to 2500 words. That is a hard requirement. It's based on state of Illinois requirements for this class. So essays that do not fulfill that word count will not pass. On page 2, here are the guidelines. It needs to be within this word count. You need a minimum of 6 sources. One of them has to be a book chapter. 3 need to be scholarly peer-reviewed sources. The others can be basically anything. If you're not sure, check with me, check with Bill, check with Valerie, our librarians. You can also check with the Writing Center. At least 3 of the sources must be current within the past 5 years. You're going to write a coherent essay with a guiding purpose, which we'll talk more about. Use MLA formatting. And you must pass this assignment to be eligible to earn a C in the class. So the rest of this, which I said I will dig into, gives you some information about the timeline and workload. suggestions for generally approaching the project. I have a suggested outline, suggestions on how to think about the sources. If you're using a minimum of 6, you have to be able to examine it more than 10 probably, just to make sure that the sources are appropriate for your needs. And that is often the most time-consuming part of this research process. I have suggestions on ways to approach the analysis. So you're not being asked to argue anything. You're just asking a question that you want to learn more about, and you're analyzing the answers that you find. So these are things you can do to do that analysis. Suggestions on how to bring together your sources, so it's not a report. It's not source A says this, source B says this. It's more like, here are the answers I found. And then here's some examples on how you can take those questions you have and put them into the outline I've suggested. So I'll be back with more information.